Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Thomas-Baudlot, CEO for NGs Southeast Asia. This afternoon session is dedicated to give you a bit of insight on the energy transition. I will take the opportunity of this speaking slot to update you on what we're doing at ENGIE to accelerate this transition, and also introduce why R&D, and in particular our REIDS project, makes a lot of sense into this transformation. So if we start with a bit of context on the first slide of this presentation, if we go to the next slide, please. 2020 has been, by any given standard, a very surprising year. COVID has impacted fundamentally the way we work, the way we have lived, but it has also given us an opportunity to take a step back and realize that there is a much more existential threat that stands ahead of us, which is the climate change. And that if we don't start to address in a systemic way this threat, we will be in much bigger peril than what we're living today under the current crisis health. This is why it's absolutely of utmost importance that private sector, public sector join hands in a coordinated effort to fight and address challenges that climate change will give to mankind. I would say that in the post-COVID area, or in the aftermath of COVID, there is a real opportunity to channel the investment that all the public authorities will do to sustain their economy, so that they address real sustainable issue and promote the development of sustainable infrastructure throughout the world, but in particular in the region. And if you go to the next slide, please, there are reasons to be optimistic. We are today already in a situation where green energy is becoming the most interesting energy to deploy at scale worldwide, but in particular in some countries of the region. If you look at Malaysia or Philippines, for example, solar is already today the cheapest energy source. And there is no doubt that governments and private companies such as ENGIE are looking to deploy renewable capacity at scale in the years to come all throughout the region. In fact, if you take only Malaysia and Philippines combined, we're looking at 40 gigawatts that should come in line, 40 gigawatts of additional renewable capacity that should come in line within the next 10 years, which is absolutely enormous. Along with this availability of a green power source that is also economically the most relevant, we will face within the next 10 years the emergence of what I call cheap storage, and also maybe new technological gaps in the storage solutions, which will further disrupt the energy market in a good way and give us opportunity to accelerate even more the deployment of clean energy. And if you combine that with the fact that we're seeing today the Asian grid taking shape, it's been talked a lot in the past few years, but we're seeing governments taking action and real business opportunities, concrete industrial projects happening that are showcasing the real potential of integrating all the countries of Southeast Asia into a single and cleaner grid. Aside from this availability of a clean energy source, I would say that we're also facing a momentum around energy efficiency in the region. Solutions such as district cooling are gaining a lot of attention. In fact, if you see what's going on in Singapore, all new districts around the country embed district cooling solutions at design stage. And there is no more question about whether or not this solution is the right way to go for the region in the future. Besides Singapore, you see a number of projects happening in Malaysia, in Thailand, in Philippines, and you can see that the challenge around the growth of urban areas and the growth in cooling need will need to be solved thanks to those very efficient infrastructure. So how is ENGIE trying to be a part of this landscape and part of the solution to accelerate the energy transition? If you go to the next slide, we were a traditional IPP a few years ago, and we were amongst the first to realize that there was no sustainable future that would rely on coal generation, and therefore we were a few years back among the first IPPs to completely exit and stop the development of new coal capacity. But we went further than that and developed a wide range of solutions that allowed us to lower our carbon footprint as we conduct our business. And as a result, today, we're in a position to propose to our customers to lower their energy footprint and go towards a greener energy mix. We went a step further even, and we wrote into our DNA, into our bylaws, our purpose, which is to accelerate the transition towards a carbon neutral world. So it's very exciting that ENGIE is really at the core of the biggest challenge that mankind will face in the near future. And if you look at the next slide, in the region in Southeast Asia, we have built amongst the years a real base of activity that will allow us to play a significant role in the energy transition of Southeast Asia. If you look at energy production, we have almost 300 megawatt up and running of clean energy, either solar or geothermal, and this capacity is only increasing day after day. So it's installed capacity under construction, and we have today a pipe of opportunities to be developed in the years to come that goes beyond 2 gigawatts, which is absolutely massive. And along with those clean and green energy capacity, we are working across a wide range of solutions and industries to propose to our customers ways to lower their energy footprint. We are extremely big on district cooling, but I will tell you a bit more about that in the next slide. We are doing a lot. No, keep the previous slide. We are doing a lot on energy efficiency. If we could just go back to the previous slide, please. We have a wide range of facilities management services, and we can really target all the industries that are heavy energy consumers to address their energy need and try to lower them with solutions that range with design, efficient installation, and efficient operation of the facilities for our customers. And data center, for example, is one of the industries we are focusing a lot. Singapore is acting as our development hub for the region. There is no better place to be than in Singapore to do business around the whole region. This is why we chose Singapore as our headquarters for Asia Pacific, for Southeast Asia. But we have also localized a lot of expertise in the country. Our research and development lab is anchored in Singapore since a few years, but we also have very dedicated center of expertise around district cooling, energy efficiency, or digital solutions that sits in Singapore and support the development of business all across the region. So if you go to the next slide, I wanted to give you some ideas, some references of projects and solutions we are already deploying right now, which are helping make a difference and boost this energy transition. What you're seeing here is our Northgate reference. It's a district cooling we deployed in the northern part of Manila with our partner Philinvest. We basically distribute air conditioning through a network, through an infrastructure, which is much more efficient than cooling each building individually. And we supply air conditioning to a call center city, a city that groups a lot of call centers in the Philippines. And by deploying such technologies, we have managed to reduce the energy consumption necessary to cool the city by 40%, 40, which is absolutely outstanding and give you a good indication of the relevance of such solution for a more sustainable future. If you go to the next slide, obviously, we are working as well on broader agreements that go beyond just one solution. Here you have an example of an agreement we have signed with Springfield, a city in Australia, for which during 50 years we will work in collaboration to help make the city ultimately carbon neutral, which is absolutely outstanding. And during those 50 years, ENGIE will design, install, finance, and operate all utility systems that will help reduce the energy consumption and make the energy greener in the city so that it can reach a carbon neutrality at some point in time. Obviously, today we don't have all the technologies that are necessary to reach a carbon neutrality for a whole city. And this is a very good transition for the next slide, please. For the way we see the R&D, research and development role in support of our development in the region. Well, the way ENGIE sees R&D is in a very pragmatic way. And we have narrowed down the essential and key areas where we need to invest into R&D and find new technologies to trigger and enable a carbon neutrality within a 5 to 10 years time frame. So you can see on this slide a few of the technologies we have identified as essential. You would find green gas, hydrogen, electric charging vehicle infrastructure, green mobility. It's a set of very targeted technologies that will be part of tomorrow's energy mix. And we work hand in hand with our R&D department on concrete projects that we know will make a difference in a relatively short time frame, which is a perfect transition for the project we will speak about today. If you go to the next slide, REIDS is a perfect mix of today's technology and tomorrow's potential for a green and carbon neutral energy future. REIDS is a microgrid, so a project that combines a lot of energy sources from today, solar, for example, wind, but also tomorrow's technology such as hydrogen, and help us design and operate what will be the systems that provide green energy to cities, to villages when they are not connected to the grid. And this really allows us to build a concrete business case, invest into efficient energy management system so that once technology matures, we are fully ready to scale them and bring them to the market. But before I leave the floor to the team to explain to you a bit more about REIDS, which is a beautiful project, I wanted to conclude my presentation. If you go to the next slide, by a bit of an interactive session. So I would like those of you who have their phone with them to take your phone and scan the QR code that is appearing on the screen right now. It will take you to a web page where you can input any address you wish. And by doing so, we will be able to showcase to you what green solar capacity we can deploy on this address, what this capacity can help you save in terms of CO2, in terms of energy consumption, and in terms of dollar as well. So that way you can see that all of us can be part of the energy transition, and we have the technologies today to accelerate things. Thank you very much. I will leave the floor now to the REIDS team.
Thank you, Mr. Baudlot. Next, we would like to invite Loïc Viocel, Director, ENGIE Lab Singapore, and Dr. Peng Xiaoyang, R&D Manager, ENGIE Lab Singapore, for their presentation. Mr. Viocel and Dr. Peng, please.
All right, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, yes.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute, I think. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Thomas, for this very insightful introduction. I'm Loïc Viocel, Managing Director with the ENGIE Lab Singapore, which is the research center of ENGIE in APAC region. And I'm indeed very happy to present you today our flagship project called REIDS-SPORE. That's a coincidence to have this few weeks at the same time as the full commissioning of this project. But indeed, we're going to commission this R&D test bed at the end of this week, the day after tomorrow. And we will officially inaugurate the site on the 26th of November. So we will go into the details of the project with Dr. Peng Xiaoyang, who is with me and who is the smart grid manager of the team, and will be in charge of the operations of the site. And on my side, I will be telling you more about ENGIE's R&D strategy, priorities, and main projects globally and more specifically in the region. If you go to next slide. Yeah, so Thomas told you about the strategy already of ENGIE Group. ENGIE decided to reposition its strategy towards energy transition and carbon neutral economy back in 2016, committing to greenify all the assets we own by 2050. And to make the big switch a reality at a global scale, it is key to invest in research and innovation to bring down the cost, to de-risk emerging technologies. And ENGIE decided to invest in research with a special focus on energy efficiency, green gases and hydrogen, distributed energy systems, energy access, future building, future industry, smart grid, smart cities, green mobility, just to name, I would say, some of the main topics. And to address all these topics, ENGIE's research relies on a global network of 23 thematic labs and 8 research centers worldwide. So the 2 main research centers are located in Europe. One is next to Paris, called ENGIE Lab Singapore, and another one located in Belgium, called ENGIE Lab Singapore. If you move to the next slide, we can see the map with this global network. Can you move to the next slide, please? Yes, thanks. So you can see all this network on the map. And ENGIE Lab Singapore is part of this global network to be, I would say, closer to the local needs, to better answer to the market in APEC region, and with the access to the expertise of this global network worldwide of ENGIE research. If we move to the next slide, you can see here the two main missions in a way of the lab. Work on long-term innovation, innovative carbon neutral technologies to de-risk technologies on the long term and cut down the cost. This cannot be possible without collaboration, without partnerships. So we develop pilots with the key partners in the local ecosystem. And at the same time, we need to be, to answer to Thomas' needs, we need to be business oriented as much as possible with short time to market technologies in order to bring technical expertise to the ENGIE entities and to bring innovation and added value in the commercial offers. So to answer to the business needs, we need to be able to cover multi-thematics and at the same time to be efficient in our research work, we need to be focused. So if you move to the next slide. Right, no, you can come back to the previous one, sorry. So yeah, I will tell you anyway a bit later during the presentation, a bit more about our priorities. But just to make it short, we've been focused so far on 3 pillars: smart grid, energy efficiency in the industry, and smart cities. And following a 5-year roadmap, we've been through the beginning of the year to better identify the key topics we should focus on in the coming years. We will focus in the future on 2 main new R&D focus areas: cooling technologies and the sustainable data centers. So I will tell you a bit more about it at the end of the presentation. So if you move to the next slide, I'm going to present you very briefly some of the flagship projects of the lab. So the first one is the development of a new cooling technology based on scale cooling technology with a material which reflects solar energy during the day and can send heat to the cold space during the night, thanks to infrared radiation in the atmospheric transparency window. So it sounds a bit magical, but there's already a first trial in our research center in France. And the idea is to complement this trial with performance data in tropical conditions before deploying this technology on buildings in Singapore and beyond. We signed end of last year an MOU with JTC in October 2019. And we are in discussion at the moment with JTC for different opportunities of R&D pilots related to cooling, related to building, related to smart food. And this project should be the first one to be co-developed with JTC, targeting end of this year, early beginning of next year. And it should happen in the BCA Scale Lab in Singapore. The second project, which is as well an important project for us within the lab, is a project we've worked together with another team of NTU, more specifically the Thermal Energy System Lab of NTU, to develop a cryogenic liquid air energy storage solution, co-generating both cold and power, and for different applications, starting as a backup power, as a backup solution for data centers, and to replace diesel genset, and targeting later to provide different services for data centers and district cooling to improve the energy efficiency and decarbonize these sectors. Surbana Jurong has shown interest as well in this topic, so we are in discussion at the moment, possibly to sign a tripartite MOU together between ENGIE Lab Singapore, Surbana Jurong, and NTU to move ahead together on the topic. And last but not least, and that's the focus of today, so it's time to pass you the floor, Xiaoyang, is the REIDS-SPORE platform. So yeah, I leave you the floor, Xiaoyang. Thank you.
Thank you, Loic. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Xiaoyang, the program manager for Smart Grid program in ENGIE Lab Singapore, and the lead for the REIDS-SPORE project. REIDS-SPORE project is a project under the REIDS initiative, which stands for Renewable Energy Integration Demonstrator Singapore, led by Energy Research Institute at Nanyang Technological University. Today, we're very happy to announce that actually the REIDS-SPORE platform, our NG microgrid, will be fully commissioned in the next couple of days. If we can move to the next slide. We see that the story goes way back in 2016 when the REIDS initiative was first announced and when actually the ENGIE Lab Singapore was founded as well. As a founding member of the lab myself, I had the opportunity to work alongside this project from the starting point until today. In the previous 4+ years, we are working very hard on constructing the platform as well as some desktop research topics related. We have gone through many difficulties in the engineering, procurement, construction activities, and we have accomplished numerous tasks, including erecting the biggest wind turbine in Singapore and commissioned the innovative hydrogen food chain from production to electricity and mobility usages. Now we are looking at the official inauguration of the platform on November 26th. If we move on to the next slide, we can see that actually the project is fundamentally looking at how to work towards a carbon neutral economy through the implementation of microgrid to cope with the increasing demand of electricity as well as many challenges along the way, including costs and aging networks. We have decided to work hand in hand with our partners in demonstrating microgrid solutions supported by the Economic Development Board in collaboration with NTU and Schneider Electric. The REIDS initiative is launched with ENGIE, bringing a multi-fluid microgrid solution demonstrator. Next slide, please. The REIDS initiative has a dedicated plot on Semakau landfill, known as the plot P2. Within this plot, many industrial players have come together and install or plan to install their solutions in demonstrating different technologies, among which ENGIE's REIDS-SPORE platform is the largest and the most sophisticated microgrid amongst all industrial collaborators. If we move on to the next slide, we can see how actually the project evolved along the way on ENGIE's side. In the first beginning, it was first started to look into off-grid applications to solve the issue for electricity access in Southeast Asia. However, with the project moving on, we have decided to demonstrate some more advanced technologies to form a multi-fluid microgrid with hydrogen in our case. This way, it could benefit both on-grid and off-grid applications. And recently, with the commissioning of the platform drawing near, we are looking even beyond the multi-fluid microgrid, but demonstrating, testing relevant, innovative, low-carbon solutions on the platform. If we go to the next slide, we can see here the overview of the soon-to-be commissioned REIDS-SPORE microgrid. As you can see, green electricity is generated from solar PV, wind turbine, and backed up with the diesel gensets if necessary. Such green electricity is used to supply to an artificial load, which can be programmed to reproduce different end users. The surplus of this generated green electricity is then stored in battery or in the form of hydrogen in the hydrogen system on site. In time of need, such stored energy can be converted back into the green electricity to supply the artificial end users. Not only that, interestingly, on this platform, with the hydrogen system, we can also use the generated hydrogen for other usages, such as mobility. And for demonstrating this aspect, we have deployed a hydrogen vehicle on site. I'm going to show you some pictures in the next few slides. This is the wind turbine that we have installed on Semakau landfill. It is currently the tallest wind turbine in Singapore, which is 42 meters from the bottom to the tip of the blades. This wind turbine could normally generate 100 kilowatts at its rated wind speed, although we would expect the output to be only at 20 to 40% most of the time during the testing. And of course, on the right-hand side, you will see 3 diesel gen sets installed on site for backup usages. And it is also to demonstrate the scenario when a microgrid with renewable energy can retrofit a brownfield site with existing diesel gen sets. If you go to the next slide, we can see the PV panels installed on site, which are the main renewable sources on the platform. There are in total of 200 kilowatt peak of PV panels to generate green electricity during the daytime. And if we go to the next slide, we can see the battery energy storage, which is a way to counter the intermittency of renewable generation like PV, and also a way to store energy in chemical form in order to supply to the load when renewable energy generation is low, to avoid using diesel gen sets. In the next slide, the most interesting part of this platform is to demonstrate the multi-fluid aspect, and it lies in the hydrogen full chain system that you can see here, which consisting of a hydrogen power-to-power system, a hydrogen refueling station, and a hydrogen car. If we move to the next slide, you would see the hydrogen power-to-power system basically consists of an electrolyzer, which generates green hydrogen using the green electricity generated on site and water. There is also a fuel cell to generate electricity with the green hydrogen that is stored, and also it includes the hydrogen and oxygen storage tanks. This demonstrates the usage of hydrogen in the form of electricity storage. Next, please. This is the hydrogen refueling station that is installed on site. It is in the purpose to demonstrate the use of hydrogen in another form, mobility. It is fundamentally a gas station for a car or a charging port for an EV. The only difference between these aforementioned stations is that the hydrogen refueling station actually charge a hydrogen tank within the hydrogen vehicle, and they can actually charge as fast as a normal gas station in 2 to 5 minutes. If you move to the next slide, you could find the hydrogen car that we deployed on site. It is actually a fuel cell electric vehicle, which is fundamentally an EV with a hydrogen range extender. The range extender is able to extend the original range of the car, which is around 100 kilometers, up to 300 kilometers using the same setup. Next, please. And last but not least, to make all the complicated system work properly and optimally, we have implemented the full suite of management system consisting of power management system from Schneider Electric, the energy management system from ENGIE ourselves, and the supervisor control and data acquisition system from the collaboration of ENGIE and Schneider. These systems have their respective roles and responsibilities in terms of management, and also to ensure the normal and optimal behavior of all the equipment, including in the hydrogen food chain. So if we move to the next one, we are looking at the future of the platform. In ENGIE Lab Singapore and ENGIE Research, we believe we need to use this platform and contribute to the fact that we are moving towards a carbon neutral economy. And here are the things that we are looking at for this living lab that we have built here. First and foremost, for site visit and showcase, we plan to open the site to internal and external parties upon request to promote green solutions, and of course, to promote the basic knowledge of renewables and other innovative technologies. And for the last one, with the data generated on site, we would like to create our own database with regards to performances of technologies in different scenarios. By having this data, we look to collaborate with the different partners to develop, to enhance, or to fine-tune some innovative technologies. And in the next 2 slides, I would like to highlight the test bedding and training usage that I mentioned here. So as mentioned, the platform is fundamentally a living lab of itself. It will be in operation. We will conduct testing along the way, and we plan to use it to demonstrate and test technologies that can contribute to carbon neutrality. It can be used to validate performances, to showcase, to benchmark. Specifically, it can be used to test technologies relating to solar, to energy storage, to digital solutions, leveraging on the site and the infrastructure that is already there. It can be coupled with other utilities utilizing certain equipment of the site. And it can also be about testing technologies by making use of the whole platform, or even with our partners' platform upstream. This way, we believe that we can fully utilize the destiny of this platform as a living lab. And if we move to the next slide, we would like also to use this platform as a training center that provides different levels of training program. It can be educational training for general public, for students. It can be professional trainings to talk about international and local standards, as well as operating and maintaining skills. And it can also be expertise trainings to provide some in-depth knowledge on a specific technology on site, or understand the whole context of control, cybersecurity, energy management, etc. So in summary, moving forward, ENGIE Lab Singapore will use this platform as a living lab for multi-purpose and multi-topic, and providing opportunities as an R&D testbed in real and tropical conditions. This is in line with ENGIE's group strategy towards carbon neutrality and to address the 4 switches of the energy transition in Singapore. Before my colleague, Loic, tells you more about the ENGIE's future R&D roadmap, in the APAC, we have prepared a video that will showcase the REIDS-SPORE platform.
NGs' purpose is to act in order to accelerate the transition towards a carbon-neutral economy through innovative solutions to save energy and through environmentally friendly solutions. Despite the fact that it has been only recently incorporated in our bylaws, it was already our purpose back in 2016 when we were thinking about developing new solutions for energy transition in Southeast Asia. But thinking was not enough, and we wanted to act. And that's why we decided to create ENGIE Lab Singapore, and we decided to invest in the REIDS laboratory on Semakau Island. That's what we are doing now.
Thanks to its 900 researchers and 22 labs, ENGIE Research supports ENGIE's strategy to accelerate the transition towards a carbon-neutral economy. Connected to the Asia-Pacific R&D ecosystem, ENGIE Lab Singapore is one of these labs and has been developing expertise in 3 programs: smart grids, industry energy efficiency, and smart cities. The REIDS-SPORE platform is a state-of-the-art multi-fluid microgrid solution at Semakau landfill. This project is important for ENGIE Research because it will enable ENGIE to address the issue of energy access for off-grid areas and provide a test bench to test innovative low-carbon solutions in a tropical environment.
Energy sources including Singapore's tallest wind turbine, a PV farm, and 3 diesel gensets, providing backup power and demonstrating the solution's scalability. A load bank reproduces load profiles for testing. A hydrogen fuel chain system provides clean electrical power and mobility. It consists of hydrogen power-to-power unit with fuel cell, electrolyzer, and hydrogen storage, the hydrogen refueling station, and the fuel cell electric vehicle. All assets operate harmoniously with the 3-layer management system: the power management system, the energy management system, and the supervisory control and data acquisition system. ENGIE's cybersecurity technologies guarantee a safe platform. Addressing the 4 switches of energy transition, REIDS-SPORE will serve as a living lab and training platform for industry and professionals, a public learning center. It is a showcase of ENGIE's capability when it comes to carbon-neutral technologies to fight against climate change.
This project is a game changer for renewable applications in Southeast Asia, demonstrating the viability of integrating a highly intelligent multi-energy microgrid using solutions from multiple vendors. NTU has invested heavily in the microgrid, energy storage, and smart multi-energy systems, and REIDS is one of our major flagships. With the support of industry partners like ENGIE, REIDS have grown from a single microgrid to a multi-microgrid platform involving over 30 industry players.
ENGIE Lab Singapore is developing a new 5-year roadmap in alignment with the group strategy and interest of the local ecosystem. One new priority is cooling, an important topic for tropical countries like Singapore and in the age of global warming. The lab will investigate the entire cooling value chain, including production, storage, transportation, optimization, and urban planning, and for different applications, more specifically cooling technologies for building and vertical farming use. Another new priority will be sustainable data centers. ENGIE Lab Singapore will lead this topic worldwide for ENGIE research, identifying key research areas and developing first pilots to test the solutions, and focusing on quick win, business-oriented innovative solutions with short time to market, and at the same time, looking into longer-term, game-changing technologies in the data center value chain.
ENGIE, leading the world towards carbon neutrality. For more information, visit engie.com.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think with Sherry-Young's presentation and this branding, freshly branding, new branding video, you've got really the overview of this REIDS-SPORE project, and even I will say the first overview of the lab we want to build from now onwards with the new topics we will focus here in Singapore and in the region when it comes to research and development. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is, in a way, the story I started to tell a bit earlier in the presentation, which shows the historical focuses of the lab, which was created in 2016. So between 2016 and today, smart grid, future cities, and future industry. And you can see this shift in a way in terms of priorities from these three historical pillars towards sustainable data centers and cooling. And at the same time, it doesn't mean we will forget about all the expertise we've been developing so far since 2016 on the historical pillars. It's going to be very useful to be efficient on the new topics, to have this expertise locally. And let's keep in mind that part of our role is to support the business, and so all this expertise will be needed as well for the technical support we bring to the ENGIE entities in general in the region. If you move to the next slide. So just a word on sustainable data centers. So ENGIE Lab Singapore will lead this, as I said in the video, will lead the topic worldwide for all the global network I presented you within ENGIE research. When it comes to data centers, there's indeed an increasing attention on the carbon footprint of the data centers, with changes in national regulation, like in Singapore, with stricter sustainability standard to be met after 2021. In Europe, data centers are required to move away from diesel completely by 2030. And we can observe as well commitments taken by key players like Google or Microsoft, moving towards 24/7 green power supply by 2030. So it makes, a lot of sense to focus on this topic, and especially in the region, in the continuity, I will say, of the strategy of the business unit as presented by Thomas, which highlighted this topic as well. When it comes to cooling, it's a bit the same, I would say. Where does it make more sense to focus our research work more than in tropical countries like in Singapore? I mean, focusing on this topic makes a lot of sense here. And so we will investigate the entire cooling value chain, and for different applications, and mainly cooling technologies for building and vertical farming use. I will say that we will focus first on the buildings, and vertical farming applications will probably come later, according to the exercise of the roadmap we've been through with the local ecosystem during the first semester of the year. It seems that vertical farming, needs to be a bit more mature. As far as we see it from now, but we will still be active on the topic. And so we'll investigate, for instance, chiller optimization solutions, predictive maintenance solution, and new cooling solutions based on sky cooling technology, for instance, like the one we target to develop with JTC. I think this presentation is coming to an end. So I think we've got a bit of time for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Viocel and Dr. Peng. May we invite you to stay on for the panel discussion. We are pleased to invite Mr. Anurag Chatterjee, Regional Business Development Manager from Asia Pacific, Energy and Renewables Advisory, DNVGL Energy, who will be moderating this session. For those who would like to pose a question to our speakers, please use the question tab on the SIEW virtual platform. I would like to hand over the time to Anurag.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, Xiaoyang, for the wonderful presentation. And I'm sure everyone in the audience was really pleased to see some of the accolades ENGIE presented. For instance, the 27 gigawatt of installed capacity that you have, and #1 power producer in Singapore, and also the key purpose of ENGIE, which is clearly to accelerate in this whole energy transition, which pretty much sits with DNVGL's energy transition outlook, where we believe that we are all doing what we have been doing for the last decade is fine, but we all need to step it up a notch. And that's where we believe the purpose that ENGIE is driving in terms of accelerating this whole transition, it is great. Now, moving towards the first question, we gather that there's no really one solution or no silver bullet that can address the whole sustainability solution that ENGIE is driving towards. We know that investment in infrastructure is required, new technologies is required, but of course, with all these two, R&D remains the key focus, and there's a true epicenter of this whole energy transition. So perhaps a question to you, Dr. Xiaoyang, how do you think this whole R&D projects that you have set forward enables in this whole energy transition that we all are so eager to be part of and contribute?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, in my opinion, I think towards the energy transition is really about technologies, as well as the mindset of the knowledge level and acceptance level of the people. So by saying that, I mean, actually, if you're looking at the technologies that are available today, which by that we demonstrated using this platform, the wind turbine, the solar PV, the hydrogen system, the technology is there. And the next step is really to show to the people, to all the audiences, the industry, that the technology is ready. Let's think about how to make this technology available. And that's where, R&D platform like REIDS-SPORE plays an important role, and it is to demonstrate in physical form all these technologies to showcase that it actually works, and then to promote this idea that people could actually use it, and then move to the next phase into how to utilize it, how to make it economically viable, knowing that the technology is already there. So bridging the gap of knowledge difference is also a part of the journey that we are looking at for energy transition, and that's what we are trying to push right now.
Thank you, Xiaoyang. That brings a very interesting topic, a question also. In fact, two questions which came around that is if you were to look into a crystal ball and all the projects that you are currently doing or ongoing, which of these projects would you say offers the greatest potential in moving towards the carbon neutrality? If you had to pick your favorite.
It's a little bit difficult because you know that in ENGIE Lab Singapore, we are looking at a wide range of topics, different topics in smart grid, in energy efficiency, in industry, in smart cities, new gases. And now we are looking at, cooling, we are looking at data center. So all these topics are very interesting, and they all contribute to the same, energy transition or reduce carbon, in a general way. For me, since I'm more looking at the project, my personal favorite, I would say, is really looking at how we demonstrated the food chain of hydrogen on site. So the hydrogen food chain that we are pushing is really, I would say it's one of it's the first case that I have known of in this region that we can demonstrate from the beginning, which means the generation of the green hydrogen to storage, to utilization with electricity at the same time with mobility usage. And then by demonstrating that, we are also looking at, finding out the performances of all these equipment in tropical condition to see whether it is really at the stage we can make great use of it. And of course, by utilizing this hydrogen ourselves, we are also looking at how we can, push the boundaries to say using the hydrogen P2P system to support the grid. How does it compare to a battery system? If we combine the battery system and the P2P, how it will look like. So all these technical, questions and also projects that we are doing around the hydrogen there is probably most my favorite here.
Okay, nice. It's always good to bet on the winning horse, and I clearly see that you have picked your winner of the projects. So thank you for that. Lloyd, perhaps a question to you. We heard throughout the NG's presentation, awareness and collaboration were the two key words that kept coming up in all the three presentations. Now, keeping these two words in mind. I want to hear your view on how does the current COVID-19 situation mark a turning point in how the public thinks about the climate change? Just your quick view on that.
We have a technical problem here, so Loic will use my camera.
Okay, no problem. We all understand.
Yeah, sorry for that. It's part of the game. But I could hear your question. So yeah, I would say, everybody is concerned by the COVID situation. It's part of our daily life today. And I would say it might be an accelerator towards the big change, because I think it brought awareness to people. I think it's been an opportunity in a way to step back and think about our daily behaviors, and I think at the end of the day, I think everybody agrees to say that without changing completely our life drastically, we could all together by changing small details on a daily basis, we could have a big impact on the fight against climate change. So yeah, I would say indeed, I'm not saying I'm not going to travel anymore. I'm not saying I don't want my colleagues and my team anymore, and I just want telecommuting all the time. But I think, yeah, by some adjustments, things can change, and it's important.
Well, I can't agree more, Loic. And I think one thing that has really happened because of the pandemic is really made us think to work more efficiently and how we can have the same impact by not being in the same location. Perhaps going back to the question on about the whole collaboration and bringing in the right technologies in your R&D innovation centers. How do you pick the partners or the right technology partners to be part of this whole R&D center that ENGIE has set out to? How do you pick a winner?
That's a good question. I would say the exercise of the roadmap we've been through at the beginning of the year was part of the analysis. I would say of the analysis of the matching between the key topics we want to focus on and the key partners in the local ecosystem active on these same topics. And you follow the news, you interact with the different agencies, with all the local ecosystem. So it's definitely very important to develop our footprint and our network in Singapore and beyond. And that's the way it works. I mean, once again, when we speak about climate change, about big switch, it's impossible to do that alone, and it's very important to be together as much as possible to foster collaboration and indeed to choose the right one, at least the one which can complement our own skills.
Yep, and I think that's very important to have the same objective towards the end goal. No, so I think you phrase it quite well. And Loic, for the sake of we all like numbers. So if you had, could we get an insight on how much ENGIE is really planning to invest in this whole R&D center?
How much ENGIE wants to invest in the R&D?
I mean, just some kind of figure so that we
some figures. I can give you some figures like ENGIE invests today around 200 millions in research and innovation worldwide, and so depending on the topics of interest, depending on the thematic labs I've presented you, some of them are very important today according to the corporate, and so they push a bit more budget on this one, and I mean there are some millions coming to Singapore as well.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. And as audience, you've heard it from the lab itself. I guess my last question before we end the session, Loic, just to facilitate this whole arrangement. Hydrogen was a topic that was initiated in SIEW 2 years ago, which I attended. And during that time, it was a very controversial topic. There were a lot of questions raised about the technology. And it's great to see ENGIE's role in creating this kind of awareness in a city like Singapore to provide the application of the green hydrogen and the fuel cells in the transportation segment. So I guess if I was to ask you, when do you think with the current technology and the current scale the hydrogen is working on, when do you think this will kind of really reach its realization if we were going in this space of the hydrogen demonstration and the reliability of this technology? When do you think we can really see it make a real impact?
Yeah, we speak when we speak about hydrogen, we speak about mid to long term game changing. So we speak at least about 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
But it depends on us once again. So that's why we push this topic on the platform, on the R&D testing platform at Simacao landfill. Over there, we've got the full chain, the full hydrogen chain, including production, storage, mobility. So we can address all these topics together. And the idea is really to accelerate the work, cutting down the cost as soon as possible to make it happen and deploy all these technologies at a larger scale as soon as possible. But indeed, hydrogen is a key topic globally, I would say, for ENGIE Group. We believe in the future, in a 100% green future energy market, and believe that hydrogen will play a key role in it to decarbonize sectors like industry, mobility, and we need to push in research on this topic, definitely.
Yep. Thank you, Loic. That brings us end of this session, and thank you for putting Singapore on the map with this R&D center. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you. Thank you, everybody.